Joining us now is Barbara Comstock. She's running for Congress in the Commonwealth of Virginia to replace Frank Wolf, who, after many, many years of service to the Commonwealth, is going to retire. And the numbers look pretty good to you. I wanted to tell the story. I was over in Virginia yesterday. They let me across the river. And I went across the river, and I was in this neighborhood. I was driving through, and I'm not kidding, Barbara. It was like every house, Comstock sign, Comstock sign, Comstock sign. It really seems like things are coming together for you very well. The polls all look pretty good for you. What have you figured out about running in the Commonwealth of Virginia that maybe some other Republicans could learn from?
Well, we found out it's about leadership, and it's about focusing on the kitchen table issues. And over the past 5 years, while I've been in the state legislature, I've done a lot of what Congressman Wolf has done for this area over the past 34 years, is I've focused on the priorities that my constituents told me they cared about. And that's been jobs, number one. You know, we have had a tough economy here over the past, 5 years since I've been in session, and every year after year, when you go door knocking, which I do here in this neighborhood, when you go and ask people, jobs in the economy, making sure they have jobs. It's a high two-earner family area because it's an expensive area to live in, and they want their kids to have jobs when they get out of school. So, focusing on the economy and jobs has been important, and issues related to that.
Well, because I know you, I know it's also, you said something there that is also important to the way you've run your campaign. It's retail politics. You knock on doors.
Exactly. Grassroots, getting in touch with people, talking to the moms and dads, talking to people at their schools, meeting them where they live. I mean, I try, people are very busy. They can't necessarily come out to a town hall or come out to meetings. And it's very helpful for me in governing. And this is what, I had always worked with Congressman Wolf, whether you're at grocery stores, going door to door. If you see people where they live, how they live in their neighborhoods, it helps you as a legislator then understand their lives. So this district, which stretches, some people don't realize it stretches, from down by the CIA all the way out to the West Virginia border. We have some Winchester folks here today, I saw. So, in Loudoun County, where we are here, has been rated the #1 county to live in the country. Fairfax is #3, so I think the 10th district is the #1 place to live in the country. And we have everything here, I think, that can help turn things around in Washington, because we've got the expertise and talent and got it right here in Virginia and in Virginia 10. And I want to take that expertise to Washington to get it right there.
It's 12 days, by the way. Math is hard, and that's why Brian and I are not running for Congress.
That's right.
Barbara Comstock, so many people said when Frank Wolf announced his retirement that this was at best a purple district all of a sudden, and probably even turning blue. They looked at how the district voted for Obama, how it voted in the last statewide election, and now, obviously, you have turned that around in some way. I wonder if that is sort of a harbinger for the Commonwealth itself, because a lot of people were concerned that Virginia, kind of a stalwart red state, was turning a little bit more Democrat. Do you feel like there's a tide turning here because of the results of the actual policies of the Democratic Party? Is that what's happening?
Well, I think you just have to focus, like I said, focus on the priorities. And I think it's really results, common sense oriented policies. And when you talk to people about their priorities and focus on that, then I think, we hear a lot about Obamacare. I mean, that's a big difference between me and my opponent. He said it's clearly a good thing. I hear from people, it's that talking to people in their businesses, and they say it is not a good thing. It is increasing their premiums. It's increasing their deductibles. They have higher deductibles, higher premiums.
Well,
they're paying more for less, and it's stopping job creators from creating that next job. So that's been a big problem too.
I know you've made that a big point of your campaign, and you hammered it home against your opponent, Mr. Faust, in the debate. So when you go to Congress, assuming you get elected, what are you going to do in your first few months as a congresswoman to try to roll back Obamacare so that Virginians can get back to a more market-driven kind of health care situation?
Well, I think people need to be able to buy insurance across state lines and have it be portable, affordable. Certainly, we want to deal with pre-existing conditions, and we want to deal with that. You can, it's worked for insurance companies. They're happy to keep the kids on until 26. That's turned out to be affordable. So we can get things right and allow you to have much more control of your health care. I think it's about letting each family, letting individuals decide what is it that they need in their health care, having health care savings accounts, and having tort reform. Because we hear from doctors a lot about that, and we need to have health care that works for you.
Okay, just a quick follow-up in terms of the Obamacare issue. I get it, and obviously a lot of people, what you said just resonates. But what about the things in Obamacare that people don't like? Would you like to roll back things like the individual mandate? Would you like to roll back the...
I think we need to start over. I mean, the president has suspended essentially the operation of Obamacare because so many unions, so many businesses came and said, this is unaffordable. You recently had a report, I think that it was done by a union group, that said that Obamacare is making inequality worse. So even unions that advocated for Obamacare realize it's not working for them.
So it's time to end it, not just mend it.
Oh, so, we need to start over and just get it right and have health care that's focused, put you back in charge, patient-centered reforms between you and your doctor.
All right, I want to pull up a cut here. This is Cut 25, Mike McKay. This is an ad being run by the NRCC, the Republican Campaign Committee, and it's about your campaign. Listen to this.
What would you say about this resume? Attorney, Department of Justice spokesperson, aide to Congressman Wolf, partner at a law firm, working mom. Impressive stuff. It's Barbara Comstock's resume. But Democrat John Faust said,
I don't think she's even had a real job.
You heard that right.
I don't think she's even had a real job.
John Faust said being a working mother is not a real job. Just imagine what John Faust thinks about you.
That is the ad that's being, he made this comment, and you have run with it. What kind of response are you getting to this particular line of ads?
Oh, I've gotten a tremendous response from people from the time it was said, from women, obviously, come up to me outraged. I had a woman who is a Democrat who sent me a $500 check because they were so offended by that. But I think it also displayed a lack of understanding of the people who are in our district. I mean, I've worked for Congressman Wolf, a senior aide. I was at the Justice Department post 9/11, as you know, Brian. I guess we met each other before then, but you know the work that I did then. And, after 9/11, our work was, not blue or red. It was about keeping this country safe. And I worked with our FBI agents. I worked with our Justice Department officials, and we were all working together. And those are the people who live in our community. So I think it was offensive on a lot of fronts. I've had dads, come up to me with their daughters, being upset about that. So, I think it really just speaks to, a lack of understanding of the district. And actually the people and the groups that really know a lot about real jobs have endorsed me in this campaign. Groups like the Chamber, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, realtors, creditors, and just this week showing a lot of the momentum we have in our campaign. We kind of ran the table on all the local newspaper endorsements, the Loudoun Times, the Fairfax Sun-Gazette, the Winchester Star, and I guess it was Prince William Today, and the Washington Times, all endorsed our campaign this week and talked about, how I could hit the ground running on day one, because I'm the only candidate in this race that has a record of bipartisan results, those technology bills I talked about, but also I've worked on human trafficking, Lyme disease, and I have a plan to do that in Washington and get bipartisan results there.
Well, hang around for a minute. We want to ask you some more questions.
We do. We have much more to ask you about, Barbara Comstock. You're not getting off that easy.
Our guest is Barbara Comstock, running for Congress in Virginia to replace Frank Wolf. Money is the mother milk of politics. How are you doing in that regard?
Well, new reports just came out last night. We have a 4-to-1 cash advantage on hand.
Now, that's important because it says that you have the support. It also says that people have made a judgment, Democrats have made a judgment on whether or not to invest in your opponent's campaign, and it seems as if they're not investing.
Well, and the Democratic Campaign Committee pulled out earlier this month and went elsewhere. But we're just real pleased with the outpouring of support we've had. Like I mentioned, we had the endorsements this week of all the local papers. members were great, and we're just here, as we go out to festivals and fairs, and it sounds like with the weather this weekend, we're going to have a great campaign weekend,
right.
So we will be out in every part of the district this weekend. And then, we didn't get to talk about an issue that we really hear a lot in this district is about the sequester cuts, which we have just seen the national security issue really, obviously increasing concern there. But it's the cuts to our defense are first and foremost a national security issue, but in this area it's also about jobs. So I really want to turn those around too, and that's a big distinction between me and my opponent.
You talk about the cash on hand. Brian, you mentioned all the Comstock signs. I was out as well a couple of weeks ago, and I had Comstock, all over it was Comstock signs, and then there's one sign, I kid you not, it was absurd. One sign said, "This is Faust country." A little delusional. Let me ask you this. You mentioned your resume and how you can hit the ground running, and I think a lot of voters are excited about that idea. Part of your resume includes being part of the investigating team during the Clinton impeachment. A lot of people who call in to WMAL on our shows, they think that what's going on with the IRS, with Benghazi, with a lot of other things you're seeing out of this White House are even more serious than the Clinton scandals. Would you like to be on Darrell Iss's oversight committee and maybe be a part of investigating what's going on, since that's part of your background?
Well, I'm probably interested in other committees because I've been on that committee in the past, but I'm going to focus on the kitchen table issues. I haven't thought about committee. My job at hand is election day.
Well, sure, so but people want to know what your focus is going to be.
Well, in the House, I've been the chairman of the Science and Technology Committee, and I've been on the Commerce and Labor Committee, which in Virginia encompasses financial services and commerce and labor. So the areas I've worked on for the past 5 years are the real focus I'd like to be involved in, as well as armed services issues, because that's an area that's very vital to this district. So those are the primary areas that I'd like to work on, but I think it's a little presumptuous to get ahead on committees.
Fair enough.
You did mention the sequester cuts. Paul Ryan has a budget that really takes care of those sequester cuts, brings military spending back up. Are you on board with the Paul Ryan budget?
Well, I would have some, like Congressman Wolf, I'd have some differences in terms of, the particulars on it. I want to get rid of those sequester cuts. So yes, on that part of it, and I've worked with Congressman Whitman, who's the chairman of the Readiness Committee, who's from Virginia. We'll like to work with him closely on stopping those sequester cuts. I also worked on federal employees issues for Congressman Wolf, and so I want to make sure we are protecting federal employees, because I think they're part of our solution and how we can really make government work. In Virginia, we gave our state employees incentives to find savings within their own agency. So I want to work with our federal employees, make them partners with us, and have them find incentives on how we can get spending under control, but treat them with respect and make sure that they're part of the solution.
Yeah.
Barbara Comstock, it is a pleasure to have you. Thanks for coming out to our little diner gathering today.
Great to be with you this morning.
All right. Congratulations on a well-run campaign so far.
12 more days.
That's right. 12 more days, not 10.